It's the story that just keeps on getting worse and worse. It's the Bungie marathon situation, and oh god, is it bad. Bungie responded officially yesterday, and I'll go through that again to catch you all up in a minute, but Bungie also did a live stream, and it was a train wreck. The live stream quality was rough. The audio wasn't in sync. Some Bungie developers' audio just straight up didn't work. There'd been long times of silence because other developers' audio wasn't coming through, and you'd have the other developers nodding in silence.
Reducing what's called like first sighted, which is like they look at you and they're like you, and then you know.
What you want, you could do so.
It was rough to watch. It was definitely not a AAA development livestream, way below par on what you would expect. There's really no excuse for it. Bungie said, yeah look, we were going to show off stuff today, but we thought it wasn't the best idea. That doesn't mean the whole quality of the livestream goes down the toilet. In saying that, it got worse. The sound levels are really bad, the audio looped and it echoed. To be truthfully honest, the livestream should have been cancelled. Even the 1,000-yard stare by Bungie's art director Joseph Cross said volumes. The man hadn't slept, the whole thing was incredibly hard to watch. Everyone thought it was uncomfortable. And I gotta say, even the feedback itself, which I'll go into great detail in a minute, was vague, and it really gave me the feeling of, okay, you want this, we may add it, we might do this, at this point we have no solid plans and we need to investigate. It was very wishy-washy, and people were rightfully very annoyed. Now I am very balanced when I'm giving my feedback, but the vibe Bungie gave off yesterday was very much a, no, Marathon is gonna be like this, stop trying to change it away from what we want. Like they're going to make small concessions here or there, but the core identity of the game is rock solid and they will not be changing it. It very much sits in line of when Bungie said Marathon isn't for everybody. If you're a fan of Halo, Call of Duty, Destiny, any first-person shooter, there's a chance you won't enjoy it. Now, as I said, there were small concessions in regards to balancing and overall match flow, but it really felt like so much was set in stone, and what was even more concerning was that everybody, after the alpha and after they saw gameplay, had legitimate questions. They had legitimate concerns, and just over 5 months until launch, Bungie has so much that is still undecided, needs to be investigated, or just straight up isn't happening. Like if you take out the art style thing, which I'll cover in a second, people had concerns about Marathon. Maybe I'm picking up on the vibe of the stress the developers have been going through the last 24 hours, but that's even more of a reason to postpone that live stream, give another statement on what's being done further, and then reconvene in a week with a proper presentation, as today, honestly, that live stream did far more harm than good. A lot of questions were asked by people, and personally, I didn't feel listened to. Now, I've wanted Marathon to succeed from day one. My first review of the game, I was very balanced. I outlined what I didn't like, what I did like, and then I awaited for Bungie to give feedback. At this current point in time, it feels like the players versus the developers, not both groups of people working together. The players of Marathon and the wider gaming audience seems to have a distinct vision as to what they'd like to see with the game. Mainly, I'd say because Destiny and Halo players specifically want to play Marathon, but Marathon isn't designed for those players. So you get this huge conflict of ideas, which is what I think I'm sensing between people giving feedback and the developers. Even extraction shooter players prefer Arc Raiders over Marathon, so who is it really for? It's funny because I did this video script and then I left it overnight as I thought more information would come out, and I was right. The new information says that Bungie leadership reportedly ignored Marathon developers' warnings for years about what would and wouldn't work, along with their request to add a PvE component to the game. So I was right on the money, exactly what I just said. Not only do the players and day-to-day developers know what it's going to take for the game to succeed, the executives, yet again, refuse to properly implement feedback and deviate from their vision. All I'm going to say is do so at your own peril, because the reviews are mixed to negative now, especially after the whole plagiarism debacle. Oh, it's not going to be good if they don't change stuff. The other information is that the planned rollout of the game has also changed. Instead of it going alpha, beta, and then full release, Bungie has reportedly scrapped its original June marketing plans. So that included a new trailer and pre-orders for Marathon. The open beta in August may also shift to a roadmap of public playtests instead. This also came with a quote that said morale at the studio is in freefall. Things really aren't looking good for this game. So with all of that covered, let's talk art, let's talk live stream, let's break down the details. First of all, the live stream itself was cancelled twice because one developer couldn't make it. That set the tone even before the plagiarized art went viral, and a lot of people weren't happy it was repeatedly cancelled. This project, Marathon, I would say would almost cost about $100 million to develop at this point. It's Bungie, it's owned by Sony, and the livestream quality we saw was not up to par with that. To start, Joseph Cross, art director at the studio, the one who followed the artist who had her content stolen for years, did a longer statement, which reiterated that Bungie is sorry, it's unacceptable, they've reached out to Anti-Real and are scrubbing all assets that were stolen. For all of the stuff that is removed, it'll be redone in-house, but frankly, the damage is done, especially with the wider gaming audience. The reason why the damage is done is because this is the 4th or the 5th time in 5 years this has happened. Once is an accident, twice I could believe as well, but 5 times? That's a systemic problem that developers feel as though they can get away with stealing.
I would like to say, we're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry.
Now, apparently the plagiarism happened at an early stage during 2020, but I'm struggling to have any sympathy when the blame has been put on anonymous employee 472, who apparently no longer works at the studio. I don't mean to be brutal about this, but nobody's buying that the art director himself didn't know about this, especially when he followed the damn artist. The Twitch chat, well, they reflected this, and they didn't hold back. Bungie did try silence players by putting a "you must be following for 1 month" rule to talk in the chat. That didn't work. During the Q&A section of the livestream, players asked Bungie whether they'd hire Anti-Real, and they said yes, they are open to that. I guess ultimately it's up to Fern, the person who had their content stolen, to decide what she wants out of this. She could have a game dev career and work at Bungie. She could continue as a freelance artist. She could sue Bungie. The choice is hers. Now, Bungie went through a number of things on stream relating to Marathon, and yes, they addressed many concerns people said, kind of, but at this point, it feels very little too late, and I'm not just personally saying this. I searched social media today, I looked at public opinion, I really did my due diligence and research in regards to this video because I wanted to see how things were being perceived by the wider gaming audience, and this whole debacle might be the stake through the heart of Marathon, and I don't say that lightly. Of course I want the game to succeed, and of course I want players' feedback to be listened to, but there is so much to be done in 5 months, I just don't see how that's going to happen. There was already a lot of contention about Marathon versus Arc Raiders, and even before that, because of Bungie's past behavior, people were very skeptical about Marathon as a whole. I really gave them the benefit of the doubt for quite a long time, and yes, I'll probably do one video about the open beta, if it happens, and then one video for the full release, just like a review style video. In saying that, it really might be dead on arrival at this point. In terms of actual things Bungie said in the livestream for gameplay changes based on you guys, the people watching this video, I'll list everything very quickly. Bungie said during the alpha, there was lots of solo players, and a lot of solo players searching without teammates. 5 months out from launch, and they still haven't even investigated a solo duo player option. That's too slow. They needed to come out and say, yes, solo queue and duo queue is planned, it will be coming to the game at some point. If a certain class is too overpowered, all Bungie has to do is limit certain characters to protect balancing, rework the spawn points for new team sizes, and then test it in one of the playtests. They didn't say that, annoyed a lot of people, and frankly, it's not good enough. Now, long-time watchers of the channel might be like, wow, Romy, you're actually getting really fired up about this. Why is that? Because I know for a fact there's been people who have been testing Marathon for 2, 3, even 4 years at this point. They said 2 years ago to put a solo or duo queue option into Marathon, and they ignored the feedback again and again and again, and then we get to this playtest where actually like 10,000 or 20,000 people get to play it, and what's the number one thing that happens? People want to play solo. People want to play solo without 2 other people, and then what do you hear in the live stream? Oh, well, we still need to look at it. Maybe maybe it's gonna happen. We've got to investigate it. It literally goes right back to the executive saying, no, Marathon's gonna be like this. We don't want it like that, and they're shooting themselves in the foot by doing so. Moving on from that, they're making changes to how enemies perceive the player. They're also making changes so a player with very basic gear should be able to outplay someone with very good gear, but I'll believe that when I see that. They are making changes to the weather, especially hazardous weather, and the longer you're in a session, the less safe you're going to be. The alpha build was missing more than half the weapons and was only a slice of the game. Proximity voice chat, a very contentious issue. They spoke about it, but have no real solution. They're still trying to figure figure out how they can implement it in their way specifically for Marathon. Again, too slow. Instead of outright saying yes, we'll add it, the language did not inspire confidence. What Bungie said was we need to look at how we're going to add it for our game. The chat collectively groaned when they said that. In terms of customization, we actually got a little bit. It was carefully worded and the word skins was used, but the art director did mention fashion game. So maybe players will get proper Halo style customization, so each body part will be customizable. We will see. As a side note, weapons will also have customization. The only definitive positive that I liked out of this whole thing was that if you're bleeding and you enter water, it will actually leave a trail so players can follow that. The only other thing they mentioned, which people have been speaking about, is that the visuals will improve in time. We expected that. It's an alpha. I'm not going to judge visuals until the full release. They also want players to have more agency. So in saying that, if you affect the world around you will push back harder. More or less, they said the AI don't want you there and they'll go to greater lengths to shut you down. There's also going to be a rework to the revive mechanic, but on the whole, Bungie spoke a lot about players wanting to have a story. Not a narrative story, don't get that twisted, but a story from playing the game. So you drop in, you loot, you fight, you might have a clutch extraction, and then you get out in the nick of time. In response to that, Twitch said, plagiarism will make you God. So that kind of sums up how the livestream went. Again, my top piece of feedback, solo and duo queue is a must. And there you have it. That's everything you need to know about Marathon's latest information, if you even want to call it that. The game could very well be dead on arrival unless major changes are made, but with public perception being so negative now, it may not matter at this point. Time will tell, honestly. The best thing I can do is give you guys all of the information. You can make up your own mind, but people are pretty checked out on this game. The live stream should have been postponed, as it did so much more harm than good. The quality was horrible. I also gotta say, can you guys imagine if Bungie gets caught stealing art again after this? They literally said they're going to go through all of their content to make sure this doesn't happen again, but they've said that 4 times before. So what's the saying? Fool me 5 times, shame on me. A lot of people understandably will not be giving Bungie another chance. So thank you all for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Big Halo video out soon, and then a Doom the Dark Ages video. But until then, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.